Oh my gosh, and I had a lot to say too.
I stretch and then I go and do like my weird dancings.
I mean, whatever floats your boat.
Hello.
Hey.
We're so glad to have you here with us again. If you're new, welcome. We're the Reading Queens, and this show is where we blab about our favorite books, why we love them, and the book boyfriends we wish were real. I'm Valia.
I'm Kay.
I'm Rose.
And I'm Tess.
And we're super excited you're back with us for another episode. So are we having fun here or what? What's happening?
I am having a
This
blast.
is so much fun. I look forward to this very much.
Good. I'm glad. That's the whole point. So
I also have the giggles. So I want everyone to know right now that I'm sorry in advance. I've got the giggles. I'm in like this really goofy mood. I mean, I kind of always am, but today it's like more so. So
perfect.
Warning.
We like that kind of attitude.
Warning.
Well, books do bring out the giggles.
Unless they're sad.
Just kidding.
Unless they're sad.
Oh, true.
Yes.
Yeah, then there's no giggles.
Just tears and throwing your Kindle across the room or paperback or hardback, whatever you have.
Let's not throw Kindles. Goodness.
Oh, that's true. Those cost money.
Yeah, a lot more. But
My God, it's Grand Central Station in my house. Do y'all hear all that noise?
Ooh,
Oh my
I
gosh.
hear the phone.
You're popular.
It's way on the other side of the room. And so I'm just gonna have to let it ring like that. It never
Yeah.
rings ever. That's like a phone. It's not like a cell phone.
A landline.
Yes, what are they called?
phone.
It's like, what are they called again? A landline. Anyway.
Well, we're at the end of Mercury retrograde when all the things just go crazy. So this is, we can just expect crazy things to happen, especially with technology.
So when is that over?
I think it's over, I think today it might be the last day. I can't remember. But there's also like a shadow period of Mercury retrograde. And it's usually the craziest at the beginning and the end. But let me tell you, it's been crazy all the way through. So.
Oh my God, it's like really affecting me today.
It's intense.
It's affecting a lot of people.
Right?
Like, honestly, it's just been crazy for just this whole year has been crazy.
This whole year's been one giant Mercury retrograde.
Basically.
Yes, it has.
It's all good. Okay, you guys, though, can we talk about last episode where we talked about having pets in our books? And I felt so dumb after we finished recording because I actually have a pet in my Russian fairy tale retelling books. And it's this huge turquoise cat the size of an elephant.
Wow.
And it's the sweetest thing in the world. And I was like, I am so sorry. I forgot about you.
Oh, poor
Rude.
kitty.
How could you?
What's the cat's name?
Kot Bayun.
Ooh.
And it's like it's actually a pretty crazy, not nice story about in the fairy tales and the folk tales. It's this cat that would entice travelers and especially soldiers into the forest so that he can
Ooh.
eat them.
Oh.
So
Well, if
Naughty.
you're the size of an elephant.
I know. What else are you gonna eat?
Gotta have food.
But yeah, he was such a joy to write, and because I love cats, obviously, but also just because the fairy tale and the folk tale is just so interesting, and I got to adapt it into my book, and it was just a lot of fun. But yeah, after we finished recording, I was like, I'm so dumb. I forgot about my big cat, my big turquoise cat.
That is so cool. So it's an existing thing already?
Yes, a lot of the
Wow.
folk tales in my Russian fairy tale retelling
Yeah.
book, they're actual folk tales from Russia, and that's something the main character, she has anxiety, and she has these outbursts of there's a lot of things that go into it, and basically her best friend, the way he calms her down is by telling her folk tales. And so he'll tell her just this Russian, actually legit Russian folk tale the way I heard it. I wouldn't say that it's probably 100% true because I didn't want it to be just something that I read and wrote into the book. It's something that I
Yeah.
grew up on hearing, and so that's how he calms her down and stuff like that. And so yeah, a lot of those
That
elements.
is so cool.
I know, it was a lot of fun to write.
So tell us the title of your book, Valia.
Oh, it's called Remembering Magic. And it's a complete trilogy. So like you find out everything that happens because the books are done. But yeah, it was so much fun.
And the main character's name is Callista, which is probably one of my favorite main character names. I just love that name.
I love that name too.
That's a good name.
It's so
I
original.
called her Callie, like that's the short. And then her best friend calls her Cal at times. And the fact that I can make it sound like those distinctions was like my favorite thing, which I don't know. It's just a weird thing I love about like names. My other like Maddie is the same thing. It's like Madison, Maddie, Mads. Like you can have like the different names. So I don't know. It's a quirk.
I love that. I also love that cover, by the way.
Oh, my new covers. Yeah, my cover designer,
Yes.
she did such an amazing rebrand for those. I'm pretty obsessed with them.
They're amazing.
Thanks.
I love them. I think all your covers are amazing.
I definitely got lucky, blessed with those because it didn't start out like that when I first started publishing, but
I hear you on that one.
Yeah, because you had a cover rebrand too.
I did. So I really loved the original covers of the Final Life series, but then after a while, they just kind of got outdated.
Yeah, that happens.
So then I got some new ones and I love them.
Yeah, Tess has one too for her box set, the new cover for the unicorn and I like
Oh, yeah. That was fun. It was fun to get something different because I like the original covers of the main series because they're illustrated, but they're not always like illustrated covers. I feel like they're always going to be pretty, but they're not always the most relevant. So I had fun getting a different type of cover for the box set version. I just love covers. I think we can all agree that covers are like so much fun. So, the more excuses I can get for like new covers. Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah. For sure. Okay, you test covers all the time.
I do love book covers. I love trying different things. They're just so pretty.
They are pretty.
It's the reason we buy books.
Yes. I know, don't judge a book by a cover, but we do always.
But yeah,
so.
I do.
That's true.
Okay, you guys, speaking of pets and things we talked about last week, I did what I said I was going to do and I watched Love and Monsters.
Oh,
okay. Yeah, okay. First of all, the dog in that is so cute.
Boy.
Like, oh my gosh, I love the dog. And I was like, okay, this is because anytime there's a dog in any kind of movie, especially if it's a little bit scary, I always get so scared for the dogs. I'm like, they're gonna kill the dog. But I'm like, this one is a little more lighthearted and it's fun. I'm like, they're not gonna kill the dog, right? Right though? Like, it's not gonna die, right? And like, what was that movie with Will Smith?
Oh my gosh, yes.
That was on the other night, and it was that scene with the dog, and I was like, I don't know if I can.
That's the only thing I remember.
That is the only thing anybody remembers about it.
That was so sad.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, her name was like Samantha or something, and he'd called her Sam the whole time. And then for some reason, just learning that the dog was like a girl, I don't know why that I was like, oops, Samantha. Anyways, let's not talk about that movie because that one was sad. But Love and Monsters was really good. You guys are right. I really liked it.
Yay! I'm so happy to hear that. I will forever be recommending that movie and Julie and the Phantoms. It's like if anybody talks to me for the next year, that's like the two things I'm recommending.
Okay, wait a minute. What's the other one?
Julie and the Phantoms. It's a Netflix show.
Ooh, we gotta talk to her about this.
It's so good.
What? How come I don't know about this?
I haven't finished it yet, but it is good. Valia, you gotta take it away and tell us about it.
So it's about this girl who's like, I think 15 or 16. I actually don't remember how old she is, but her mom passed away, and so she's having a really hard time with music because that was like a thing she did with her mom. And so she goes into her mom's old studio to clean it out because they have to move, and she ends up finding this like old CD. And when she finds it, what she doesn't know is that these three boys who were the band that's on the CD, they show up in the studio because 25 years ago, they actually died right before playing this huge gig. And they're all teenagers. I think they're all like 17. And so basically, the gist of the story is that she becomes friends with these guys. And when they play music together, when they perform together, everybody can see them.
What?
And so they form a
I
band
just
and they
got
start
chills.
performing. It's so good.
Wow.
It's really cute. I think we have like maybe somewhere between 2 and 4 episodes left. I can't remember. But it's really cute, and I'm trying to wait to watch the rest with my daughter because that's our mommy daughter show because it's appropriate for kids. There's
Yes,
nothing
it's
like
a kid show.
it's
Yeah.
it's like it's teens, but it's not like we're not talking steamy Vampire Diaries teens who are actually like adults
Yeah.
doing adult things. This
Yes.
is like this is like High School Musical crowd. So me and my daughter, who's 9, we watch it together. So I'm trying to like hold off to watch the rest with her.
I love it. It's actually the same guy who did High School Musical, Kenny Ortega. He's the one who created it. It's actually not, he didn't create it. He filmed it, but it's a Brazilian show that they got the rights to, and that was only around for 1 season. And so Kenny Ortega, you know, Hocus Pocus, High School Musical, Dirty Dancing, he's like,
Oh
He
wow.
did
I'm
Dirty
gonna make
Dancing?
this.
What?
Mhm. I believe so. If I remember correctly, there's actually a scene in Julie and the Phantoms that I'm like, is this a Dirty Dancing scene? Because
Oh wow, how cool.
I feel like it has like the homage, you know, to it or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's so good, and it gave me so many emotions, which I was like, this is a 9-episode, like 30-minute show for kids. Why am I crying right now? So
Aw,
much.
I love that.
Yeah, and especially since we write young adult mostly, like I feel like it just fits with like our demographic really well, and
Yeah.
the music is really, really good. And one of the biggest thing that Kenny Ortega wanted is that he wanted people who could actually be in a band outside of the show. So every single person in the show is actually the musically inclined. They can do all the things they're
Oh,
doing in the
neat.
show. So I'm like, yeah, anyway, I can fangirl about this show forever. It's so good. And I'm like, I want the next season like right now.
That is so cool. You know, one of the shows that I'm finally getting back to is The 100. I'm
No.
finally going to finish that last season.
You probably those listening to the podcast couldn't see Valia's face when she said "oh" in a very disappointed way.
I just stand by the fact that the 100 ended season 5. I don't care about 6 and 7. It didn't happen. That's all.
You know, I'm having a really hard time. I think I mentioned that to you, Valia, when we were chatting. I have a
Mhm.
really hard time finishing it because it's just not as good as the other seasons, but I'm still going to finish it. I have to know what's going to happen to Clark.
Well, I know what happens, and I didn't watch it.
Oh, I don't
'Cause
even
I was-
know. Don't tell me. No
I'm
spoilers.
I'm not gonna spoil. We don't like spoilers here. We try to stay away from those.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have very strong emotions about that series because I really loved it, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Enough of that.
That's all.
Okay.
Kay, are you watching anything interesting right now?
You guys are so cool. I am so boring. I don't do anything fun like this.
What?
I
You're
don't
not
know.
boring.
We don't watch shows, or a lot of times my husband will watch a show and that's when I read, you know? So I'll like sit by him and he's watching a show and I'm reading, you know? I don't know.
That is a valid use of time, though.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wish
Yeah.
that I could do that because, like, there's just so many things to do in a day, and I'm like, when am I going to get my reading in? And, like, sometimes it's, like, just, like, an hour before bed. I'm like, that's not enough. I want hours and hours of reading to go with my hours and hours of writing and taking care of children and cleaning and petting
just
dogs.
live. That's a good one. The last one is definitely a good one.
Must pet
life.
dogs. Every break time, pet the dog. Pet the cat too. She's cool, but she doesn't care as much. Or maybe I don't care about petting her as much. The dog like reciprocates a little better than the cat.
That's true. They usually do. So, speaking of books and reading, we picked some to read with a specific trope that we wanted to talk about in this episode. So, I'm excited to hear what everybody thought of their books.
Yeah, and I know that we told you guys to guess what kind of trope we were reading based on the books, and I'll tell you, it was The Chosen One.
Dun dun dun. So dramatic. Yeah, I'm excited about it. I just love tropes in general, but this one is just a fun one. So, Kay, do you want to start us off and tell us what you read and all about the trope?
Yeah, of course. So I read Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. This is a trilogy. I was gonna say, I guess the chosen one is a theme throughout the entire trilogy, but especially in the first book. There's this girl who is just, it's the classic chosen one trope. She's just an ordinary girl, nothing special about her. She's not very good at,
Anything?
I don't know, anything. Yeah. Anyway, then she discovers this power that she has that she had never been able to use before that, and it's this sun power, and that happens very early on in the first book that she discovers this power. One thing I really loved about the way this chosen one trope was done is Alina, the main character, she changes a lot the more that she uses this power, and I personally really liked the physical changes where she just, like, food didn't taste good to her, and she always had a hard time sleeping, and, it was just all these things. She had just a really hard time. There's always this physical toll on herself throughout her whole life. And the more that she uses this power, those things start to go away. She starts sleeping better. Food starts tasting good. And she's just like can enjoy life so much more. And I thought that was a really cool way to use the chosen one trope, that this power is such a strong part of her that even when she wasn't using it, it affected her life in a negative way. And so I really liked that, that we have, I like how it relates to life, that we all have talents and you can ignore them and not use them, but that still might take a toll on your life. Maybe not as dramatic as you can do in a book, but
that's super neat.
Yeah, it was really cool. I liked that a lot.
I love that series.
Yes.
I really, really love that
do
series.
I.
I'm a big fan. I binged it. I didn't know if I was gonna like it that much because I liked the Six of Crows duology. I liked the first one better than the second one, which I know we're flip flopped. I know you liked the second one better than the first one, but I really liked this one better. And I know that a lot of readers don't agree on that. They like the Six of Crows duology better than this. But I really like this one because I really liked the main character. I liked her struggles. I liked the duality of like light versus dark, and I thought that was so cool. I loved this whole trilogy.
I'm the same. I actually liked the Shadow and Bone trilogy more than the Six of Crows duology. I still enjoyed Six of Crows for sure, but it's just interesting. That's an interesting divide. There are a lot of readers that prefer Six of Crows, and then there are a lot of readers that prefer Shadow and Bone, and I think most people have a pretty strong opinion.
Yeah, it's one or the other.
Yeah.
Hey, are you gonna watch that series? Because that's coming to Netflix.
Oh my
gosh,
yes,
I forgot
I'm
that's
very
a
excited.
It is?
Yes.
I'm so excited.
I heard it was in the works. I didn't know it was like a done
Yeah,
deal.
they filmed I think a lot of it, and it's got Ben Barnes in it, and
I know
that's like all I
everyone's
want.
talking about Ben Barnes.
I didn't even know who that was. That's
my
another one of those people I'm like, why do people keep saying this guy's name? I don't know him. And then I looked it up. I'm like, okay, I think there's just were a couple things I hadn't seen that had him in it that people were like really into. But yeah, I'm so excited about that. I almost forgot that is happening.
I know. I can't wait to watch that. That's gonna be. I'm curious.
I'm interested to see how they do it though, because it's going to be Shadow and Bone and Six of Crows.
Right.
Which
yes.
I mean, it's supposed to be at the same time, but those don't take place at the same
Right.
time.
Yeah,
in
they
the book,
they don't
so-
intersect until the very end when they like of the Six of Crows duology, if I remember correctly, where they like bring in a couple of the characters.
Yeah.
And I read that one first, so I'm like, who are these random extra people? So then it made more
Yeah,
sense.
I mean, and you don't want it to be exactly the same as the book. Well, okay, I want it to be, but it's not.
little
going to
bit.
be. We have to
Yeah.
accept that. So it's okay if it's different. So I'm excited to see how they do it, how they handle it.
Yeah, me too.
Wow. When does it come out again?
I actually don't know. They haven't announced like that part yet. They announced that they finished filming the first season, I believe, and like they haven't made any date announcements yet. But I feel like
But
it's
it's
just
on
gonna
Netflix,
be...
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And see,
Yes.
Netflix.
Netflix original.
Yeah, and they do like Netflix has been getting like pretty good at their shows. There's been a few that haven't been the greatest. Like some have disappointed, but they've been pretty good at it like recently, and they've have like a really good budget and stuff. So I'm ready to see what I think about that. that show.
Me too.
Those are good books.
Yes.
So, Rose, what did you read for this trope?
So I read Aurora Rising by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. It is sci-fi. And I have been wanting to read this book for a very long time because the cover is amazing.
Yes.
I love this cover. I love how it's up close, the face of the girl and the hair. She's got black hair with that silver streak, and then her eye is kind of glowing, and then there's all these like constellations. And when I saw that cover, I was like, oh my gosh, I need this book. But then it just took me a long time to actually do it. So I'm so glad I finally got to do it. It's sci-fi. I don't read a whole lot of sci-fi. I don't know if y'all do, but I think the last time I read sci-fi was The Martian. I
Oh,
can't remember
that's a good
the
one, though.
other.
I
Yes,
love that book.
so good. So it's super cool. The thing about Aurora Rising is that it features an ensemble cast. And they were all super interesting, and I loved each character, but I wanted more of Aurora. That was like the only drawback to the ensemble is I wanted more of her. So basically, it starts out with it's 20 the year it starts out in the year 2380, and there's a academy, Aurora Academy, where you go and you train to be a space cadet. And this guy, his name is Tyler. He's the guy that actually is on this little mission, and he discovers Aurora in a cryopod, and she has been asleep for 200 years. And when he rescues her, she wakes up and she has no idea where she is, what's happening, what's going on, because, she's been asleep for 200 years.
Right.
She has this silver streak in her hair, and everything is feeling kind of weird. And then she's getting these visions and seeing these things, and starts having all of these like superpowers. And the story just kind of is a mystery a little bit, like what happened to her, and also a second mystery of what is it that she needs to do, because she figures out with the help of Tyler and his crew that she needs to get this object to save something. They don't even know exactly. It's just like a mystery upon a mystery. So I love it because she's like this chosen one that doesn't know what she's doing. She doesn't know exactly what the quest is because each vision builds upon the vision before.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a puzzle. And she's also a little bit of a reluctant chosen one because she misses her family. She's like, what happened to my family? And why does nobody remember that we were going to this one colony, and how come nobody remembers this colony? So she's trying to figure out so much of what is happening to her, and she's got these powers and these visions, and the visions are actually hurting her because every time she has one, she gets these massive nosebleeds. So you know that it's taking some kind of a toll with her being the chosen one. And I don't want to give anything away, so I'm not going to talk about what's going to happen, but let's just say a lot of stuff happens at the end, and it's filled with a lot of action, which I like, and a lot of fight scenes, which I like, and the reluctant chosen one. So I thought it was cool.
One thing I liked about that, which I hope this isn't a spoiler, I don't think it is. I feel like it happens pretty early. I loved because her name is Aurora, but they're also on this base called the Aurora Academy. What was it? I can't remember.
Yes.
Anyway, I just love that scene where the guy's telling her, oh, this is the name of the place. And she's like, are you serious? He's like, what?
Yeah.
She's like, that's my name. My name is Aurora. I just thought that was a fun way to to deal with the chosen one thing, you know, that she just is like, what are the odds, you know?
Yes.
That's
It's
funny.
funny.
It kind of started out with kind of like a Guardians of the Galaxy kind of feeling. Like everyone is together and they're all a little bit at odds because the crew wasn't actually designed, or the squad wasn't actually designed to be together. They're like the ones
Misfits.
that were chosen last out of
Mhm.
all the cadets. And so they're all like these misfits, and they're all put together, and now they've got this girl who's 200 years out of time, and they're trying to figure out how to help her. At the same time, they're trying to figure out how to work together as a crew. And so it's got that whole Guardians of the Galaxy feeling to it, and it's a lot of fun. But then as you continue and get towards the end, it kind of takes a turn to a little bit more serious. And I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Annihilation.
Oh
Yes.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that one's
It
weird.
kind of, yes, it kind of, yes, it kind of gave me that feeling at the end.
Oh, that's not a
And
good feeling.
yeah, because
It is.
I'll,
Yeah,
it's
creepy.
just, yeah, it takes a turn. And so I'm very interested to see what happens in the second book. I know for sure there's a second book. I just don't know if there's going to be any others. I don't know if it's going to be a duology or a trilogy. Does anyone know? I don't even know that.
Oh, I assumed it was a trilogy, but
I
now
think
that you
it's a
said that, I
trilogy.
don't know. I don't know if it is. Is it?
I think so. Like just from I don't know. I feel like I saw on Twitter recently something about that book 3, but maybe I was thinking of a different series.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. So yeah, really interesting, and it was a quick read, which I also liked because it wasn't boring. You know, it didn't have any kind of saggy middle or anything like that. It just had action, 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 and then maybe a few, like, what I call them, the scenes where you kind of get to know people a little bit. And yeah, so
And there's
it
a
is.
heist, so
Oh yes, 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 yes. So
love the heist.
it's just yeah, the heist is really cool, where they have to break into this guy's party. He's having like
Yeah.
they're on this planet and they have to go into this guy's party and
They have to
steal
go
this.
to a ball, you know?
Oh, of course.
Get those
Yes.
fun things in there.
It was very much of a Mission Impossible feel, because the squad is all separated and they all kind of have their jobs. Like, okay, you're going to be the person that's going into the room to steal this object, and you're going to be the person who's watching everything on the monitor, and you're going to be the person that's doing this. So, like, they all have their little job in this heist. And of course, a lot of stuff goes wrong, which is what makes the heist interesting and exciting. So there's a lot of really fun elements to the book, for sure.
Did you have anything else to say about your book?
No, it was just a lot of fun.
Okay.
Except for
that's
the
good.
end.
Except for the end. That's like the weirdest combination, though. Annihilation and Guardians of the Galaxy.
That is so
It
weird.
Now I'm
truly
just
is.
curious.
Weird combo.
It was really that kind of a change.
Interesting. I might actually have to pick this up now and check it out and see.
I do want to read it too sometime. So I'll read
It's
it
really
too.
good. It's super entertaining. You will not get bored at all.
That's always good.
Yeah.
So Tess, can you tell us what you read?
Yeah, I read Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. And I actually listened to this on audiobook, which is really cool because the narrator, I really like the narrator. Her name's Bonnie Turpin, which hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. But I originally heard her narrate a book. It was like an Audible original for like middle grade or like younger kids. And it was called like Viva Durant. It's some like middle grade, she's kind of like an amateur sleuth, or this is like her origin story of becoming an amateur sleuth, and it takes place in New Orleans, and there's music in it, like really good music, like some jazz bands here and there. It was a really cute story, but that was what I listened to that with my daughter, and she loved it, and I really liked the narrator. She's just really talented, but she narrated this, and this is a multiple first person point of view. So, and there's two female main character perspective and one male and one narrator, which this is pretty rare for one narrator to narrate first person all those different characters. Yeah, it's kind of, I mean, like it's just pretty rare. Usually when you have that, you have like an ensemble cast also narrating when you have like an ensemble book. But it was kind of cool because that's one of the complaints that I feel, and I also hear from other people about ensemble narrators, is it's really hard when you have to memorize everyone's different interpretation of everyone's different voice. Where when one person's narrating it, it's cool because even though maybe her male voice doesn't sound like a man necessarily, you get used to it really fast. But anyways, I'm getting off topic. I just wanted to rave about the narrator because she's really good. I'll probably listen to the next book on audio too, just because I really liked it. But this one follows Zaylee, who is they're called diviners. They're like the people who have magic, but their magic has been suppressed by the king. He has taken away magic by some way, and he's also killed all of the people who could wield magic. So magic is like outlawed, and then the people who are born now, they don't have magic. But something happens where another character, Amari, she discovers basically the source of magic or the source of magic suppression, and it's in a scroll. And she's actually the daughter of the king. So she's the princess.
It's in a what?
It's in a scroll. So
I thought you said squirrel.
It's in a squirrel. No.
Okay, go ahead.
A magic squirrel. No, it's a scroll.
Okay.
And so she discovers this, and she's not like treated super well by her father. So it's, even though it is hard for her to rebel because she starts out in this book very meek, she steals the scroll and is like chased around. But then that's where her and Zaylee's story intersect, while Amari is escaping with the scroll, Zaylee finds her. And when Zaylee touches the scroll, it sparks the magic because she is from, the diviner lineage. So her magic is awakened. And then now Zaylee is just brought into this crazy thing because this girl is getting chased by like the palace guards. They end up going, I think they get rescued by Zaylee's brother Zane. And they now are just on the run. Like, Zaylee didn't ask for this, which is all, I feel like that's very common in a Chosen One story. Like, I did not ask for this. Like, you brought me into this. And so this is crazy. They're getting chased by all these people who want the scroll back because, it would be a disaster for the king to have magic come back because he feels very threatened by magic, and he's a total like dictator. He suppresses a lot of the people, suppresses the poor. And then while they're trying to escape and figure out how to like get free, Zaylee's mentor, which is Mama Agba, she has a prophecy that where she sees Zaylee bringing back magic. And if I remember correctly, she sees at least Amari there too. I'm pretty sure, but I know it's at least Zaylee. I read this, I listened to this book over a couple months, so I'm like, some of my memories of the earlier parts are like a little bit foggy, just because once COVID happened, I didn't have a work commute anymore, so that's when I would listen to audiobooks, but I found a way to listen to audiobooks at home, and that's while I'm sewing my wedding cape. Anyways, back to the story. So there's a prophecy. Again, another one of those really big things in the Chosen One story. The Mama Agba has a vision of Zaylee bringing back magic. So now Zaylee's like, well, crap, it has to be me. And the more the story goes on, the more she, like, even though she fights it, she doesn't want to have this huge responsibility. Another Chosen One trope. They don't want this responsibility. She keeps learning more and more and more that it has to be her. And like, there's so many times where you're just like, how is she going to do this? Like, she can't do this. And you're just like kind of getting stressed out for her because she is the only one who can do it. And so many of the forces are like stacked against her. And then we get a little bit of romance in there. We get there's a couple romantic subplots, and then there's betrayal and all this stuff. But I really liked it. I will probably also listen to the second one as well to see what happens next.
This is another book too that has a physical representation of like how she changes with the magic. Her hair undergoes this big change. Yeah, which I thought was
That's
cool.
true.
Yeah.
I forgot about that part. Like so all the diviners have white hair, but the more that she uses her magic, it becomes it becomes coilier,
Yeah,
like
curly.
her coils. Yeah. Because this takes place like from what I like the feeling that it gave me is it takes place in like a fantasy Africa. Like that's what the setting felt like. I haven't looked it up to if it's supposed to if like any of the actual places are like actual places in Africa. I saw someone saying something about how like
They are. I believe they are actual places.
That's yeah.
I could
I
be
thought
wrong,
that too.
but
That's what I thought too.
I think they are.
Based on the reviews that I read, someone was saying that like they couldn't understand what place like the narrator. It was someone complained about the narrator. I'm like, don't complain about the narrator. She's the best. But yeah, I loved that. That's a good point. I loved that like her hair got longer and it got her coil like her hair got coilier and like just and she also started she started off just being this like kind of plain fierce girl and then she starts like feeling beautiful and like looking beautiful just based on not she didn't get like some magic makeover but her magic is like empowering her and it's like she's becoming a sensual woman or something like that. I don't know.
Becoming a woman with powers.
I'd feel
love
empowered if I had the magic, all up in me. I would be strutting around like a goddess. So.
You can still strut around like a goddess. Come on now.
And I still try. It just comes out a little more awkward than that.
Well, that's actually a really good segue into the book that I read because that kind of deals with like the physical aspect of a person, but I read The Girl of Fire and Thorns by Ray Carson, and it's the first book in a trilogy, and it basically is a little bit different with like the chosen one trope because she's actually the main character is Eliza, and she's actually born with like a gemstone in her navel, and so she's like chosen by God to be this great whatever. There's like not actually a prophecy to go along with it, but it's just her having this like she is the chosen one basically because she's born that way, and she knows that from like very beginning, and she's actually the youngest of the two sisters, and she right in the beginning of the book she's married off to this very powerful king, and it's an arranged marriage. They haven't met each other until he comes basically to get married to her, and then he takes her with him to her kingdom or to his kingdom. And so she thinks very little of herself, even though she has this like great destiny, because she's chubby and she loves food, and she just doesn't think that she has like any talents about, for anything really. She's like, my older sister should be the one getting married, but her older sister is actually going to be the ruler of like their kingdom. And so she's kind of is just put in this situation where she was born with this gemstone, and chosen by God to do a great thing, but like she just doesn't feel like she fits it at all because of like who she is. And so very early in the book, they get to like the kingdom, and she gets kidnapped by rebels because of course there's war going on and she's kind of right in the middle of it. Yeah, of course. And a lot happens in this book. There's so much that happens in this book. But she gets kidnapped by these rebels, and then she actually gets really close with them and kind of sees like their side of the story. And she like travels through the desert for a month, and so she ends up like losing a lot of the weight and really getting stronger. And honestly, that's like one of the things I really loved about this book, because in the very beginning, like she talks about being a little bit bigger, and like her wedding dress is not fitting because nothing fits her or whatever. And she was very relatable in the sense that she wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm chubby, but I still can handle everything. No, she like was really dealing with the fact that like this was crippling her, and it was something that was like, okay, fine, I'll eat another piece of bread. It doesn't taste like anything anyway, but because she was sad, that's what she did, And so like bringing that like very relatable and real aspect that like so many people go through to a fantasy story was just like really set it apart for me. And I really enjoyed that. And then when she does end up losing weight and really ends up like growing into the person that she is, it wasn't because like I'm going to lose weight so that I can be something. No, it like literally happens because she's traveling through a desert and it's just her life changes so her body adapts to that. And I really love that too, because it wasn't like she had to really remake herself physically to be somebody. It's just that she adapted to what was happening to her. And that's, you know, the byproduct was that she did get skinnier and she did get stronger and whatever. So anyway, that was like a big part of the book that I really loved. But there's a lot that happens, and you really get to know like a really big cast of characters. It is told from Eliza's point of view, which I really loved. And there's just a lot. It's actually the second book in the series is my favorite, which I never say because the second book is usually not as, you know, as good as the first or the third book. But I can't really talk about it without like giving spoilers away. But
Yeah, no spoilers.
That's like no spoilers. But I just love it. And the writing is really beautiful, and just the whole world that's created, and the fact that she has this like gemstone like literally living in, like a living gemstone living in her this whole time, and she just has to figure out what it even means, and like what, like why why is there like a rock in her stomach. And very early on when they're traveling to the kingdom, her something happens, and she does actually hear somebody say, you were chosen for something greater, you need to trust this. And then like that's the only information she has, and so she's like, well, somebody's got to tell me something here, or I'm just gonna walk around with this rock in my stomach forever. But anyway, yeah, I really loved the way her character grew through the series. And just even in the first book, you really see just how somebody can be put into a situation and like even thrust into like, you're the chosen one, and you're married to this stranger, and all this stuff happens to you. And just like seeing her grow and become like who she is by the end of the first book, and then so on. Anyway, I love this series so
That
much.
sounds cool. I've got to read it. You keep talking about it, and I'm always like, oh, I'll read it, and I still haven't.
You need to read it.
I need to read it too. It sounds awesome.
Same.
Yeah, there's actually a fourth book that just came out
Ooh,
because
really?
it's a complete trilogy. But I saw an announcement for the fourth book, and I'm curious to see if it's actually like part of the trilogy, you know, or if it's like a spin-off. So I will have to check on that. But I haven't read that one yet because the trilogy is just so good. It's so good, you guys.
All right, homework for all of us. Read it.
I know,
Yes,
right?
More books to read.
please.
Cool. Well, now that we have talked about all of those, we also have some indie book recommendations that fit the chosen one trope. So the one that I'm going to talk about, I actually mentioned last time on our podcast. It's the Crystal Dragon saga, although the Crystal Dragon is the name of the first book. And that one's really cool. It's a girl who is human. I can't remember if she's actually human or not, but she's not from Earth. She's from a different realm. And she doesn't know this until she, of course, is a teenager, you know, that's YA, right? And so she's taken to this realm, and she has to kind of compete in these, I don't know, trials, magical games or whatever. And she befriends this dragon, and she has like this pet dragon. It's really fun. And she's special. I'm not going to say why. You have to read the book. But yeah, it's a good chosen one trope. I enjoyed that one.
That sounds good. I'm adding that to my list. I haven't read that.
Cool. I'll read your book if you read mine.
Yes, there you go. We'll just exchange it.
There you go.
So we have something to talk about.
Exactly.
It's perfect.
Well, I wanted to mention a recommendation, which would be from Valia, who is here.
Yay!
on this
Hey.
podcast. We were chatting before the podcast, and she kind of plays with the chosen one trope in a lot of her books, it seems.
Apparently.
But the one that, yeah, apparently that's her thing. But the one that I read most recently is Of Water and Moonlight, and I haven't read the full series yet, but I did read the first one. And the main character Maddie is really cool in that she has like she works with like water elemental magic. She's like the only one who can access the like magic library and read the book and save, like the way that she like saves everyone in the end. It's like something that only she can do. So that's what makes it like a really good chosen one story is when it's like what they can do, like only she can do that. So I thought that was a great one, and I really can't wait to finish that series because I love the banter and the like tension between her and
The romance is
Mr.
awesome in that
Yes.
series.
Yeah.
Yes, and I love that she's just so relatable. Maddie. Oh, I love Maddie. She's so
Yes.
cool. Like I want to like be her friend.
Yeah.
Thanks.
She's sassy and like fierce, but she's also like she's also really humble.
Yes.
Like she's just like she's so relatable in that way where she's like she's very humble and like yeah, she just seems like she would be just your best friend.
Aw, you guys, just gonna cry.
Aw.
I love that you love her so much because she's just, she's so near and dear to my heart. Anyway, before I get super emotional, I have a recommendation from somebody who's here as well, which is Rose. She has a series, the Final Life series, and I've only read book 1 and that one as well, but I really, really enjoyed it. It's a paranormal, and it's been a while, but if I remember correctly, she has visions, right? Of like her past lives.
Yeah, so she has multiple past lives. She's actually marked for death. So she's
Yes, that's what.
yeah, so she's chosen to die actually, and she's trying to figure out why, and she's trying to figure out how to not get killed again because she's going through different lifetimes trying to figure out how to survive. So it's a chosen one plus a survival story.
Yes, it's so good. And I really liked
Thank
the
you.
parts that I really liked about it is because like just the cast of characters, like there's just like the friendship and like just I don't know, I just like really liked everybody that was involved in it. And I think it's 5 or 6 book series.
It's 4. Yeah.
four.
She's
4.
got
I don't know why I always think it's bigger.
Yeah. Well, that's because there's some spinoffs, but there's 4 in the main
Oh, okay.
series, and she has got the best friends ever.
Yes, she really does. And I love reading about like those kind of friendships and just like, I don't know, friends are just I don't know, sometimes in stories, like friends are kind of like a sidekick or something and they're not like fully developed or fully realized. But with your books, I really, really enjoyed like their friendship, like her and like Infinity
Aw.
and like Trent, right?
Yes,
Is that his name?
Trent.
Yes, I
Love
love
him
him.
so much.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a complete series, so you guys should totally check it out. It's really, really good. And it'll give you a lot of feels, even though it's like a, chosen one survival story. You'll still feel it.
Oh, yes.
I love books that have good friendships. I feel like that it should be more common than it is. I feel like
Yes.
I just love good
Yeah.
friends. That's awesome.
Me too.
Exactly. Yeah. And I didn't realize how much it was lacking in books until I was kind of like really, sitting down to write like the last couple of series that I have. I, studied. I'm like, what do I want to bring into my books? And I'm like, why is nobody friends with anybody in these books?
Yeah.
So, yeah, big fan.
Especially female friendships
Yes.
like that. I think Kay was the person who first brought it to mind, like when like Kay went on a little rant about it
I
like
do.
last
I
year.
could
or
rant
year
about
before,
this.
something.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, no, but it was so true. Like once you said that, I realized it that there's so many books where like the women are pitted against each other. They maybe have like tense friendships with other women. And I'll say I really do love the trope of when 2 females are pitted against each other but become best friends. It's
Yeah.
like one of my
Yes.
favorite tropes. I love that. It's like it has all the same feels of a romance, but it's between like 2 girlfriends. Oh, by the way, I just have to say this. Another thing I watched, Banana Split. It's really
What is
cute. It's
that?
on Netflix. It's like a young adult. I thought it was gonna be young adult romance. It's on Netflix, but it's basically that same trope where like 2 women who should be pitted against each other because they share basically the main girl's ex-boyfriend is now dating this other girl, but they meet each other, should hate each other, and they get along right away. And it's so cute. Like, rarely do I watch a show or a movie or whatever where, like, the romance isn't the main focus.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, you know, there's some romancy things that happen in it, but the main focus is the relationship between the two girls, and I loved it. That's like, I love that trope. But anyways, now I do notice that when books are happening where, like, the girl, you know, that's such a common thing too, is that the main character is fierce, she's strong, she doesn't need anybody, she doesn't have any friends, and when she does, she doesn't really trust them. That's cool. But I love when eventually they bring in a good solid female friendship of women
Yes.
supporting each other,
Yeah.
not tense in like with that like tension or mistrust, at least not forever. I like to see it fade. But yeah, Kay, you are so spot on about that. You gotta have more strong female
Yes,
friendships.
women
in
supporting
books.
women. It's so
Yes.
important.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's super important, and I love that in my books. I love the friendship with Dominique and Infinity. I love it.
Yes, it's really cool. The Skaska books, that was, I think, the first time I really dug into like a friendship between girls, and it was really interesting for me because I remember actually submitting this book to an agent that I worked for, and she was like, "Oh, you know, I don't think this is gonna like fly because the best friend, Callista's best friend, is human. She doesn't have any power, she doesn't know anything about magic, and she's kind of like taken into this world, and this whole time this girl is just like cheering Callie on from the sideline. She's just like, you got this, girl, we got this, you know, the whole time. And I'm like, and having somebody's so powerful and just like, you know, has crazy magic, and then you have this like a complete human girl, like the fact that the magic didn't play into part, nothing, they weren't like competing, nothing, they were just fully supporting each other the whole time. And
Oh, I love
I just like
that.
love that. Yeah.
That's how it is in real life, though. Come on.
Yes.
We know how to support our girls, you know?
Yes.
It's
Yup,
true.
yup.
I like seeing that in books, too. I mean, it's okay to have tension, too, but I just love it when you have good friendships.
Well, that went well, I think. That was fun. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed our discussion. In the next episode, we're going to change things up again. Hanna will be back, and Kay and Tess will not be with us.
We'll miss you
We
guys.
will. We'll be sad.
But we'll be listening. I want to hear what pastries Hannah talks about.
Yes.
Of course. But they will be back eventually. I mean, they're not gone forever. So
I'm not going to
but
be
you will
back.
be
Am
back.
I? Am I going to be in the next one?
You are, I believe. No? Maybe? Maybe
You'll
not.
just have to wait until next week to find out.
It'll be a surprise.
You know what? I think all three of the ladies that are with me today will not be here
Okay.
because we get to meet two new authors from our group. So yeah, you guys just gonna keep meeting all these amazing people that are in my life. So I get to share them with you. You're welcome.
You're going to love them all. Because
Yes.
we love them all.
Exactly. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, in the meantime, let's talk about what we're reading next. So Kay, what are you reading?
Well, I talked about this one before. I still haven't finished it. Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas. I'm gonna get through it one of these days, guys.
I believe in you. Rose, what about you? What are you reading?
I am reading To Carve a Fey Heart by our very
Ooh.
own Tess.
Ooh. That's my
Yes.
book.
Yes, I am loving it. I had to put it aside so I could finish Aurora Rising, so I'm going to get back to it, and I'm so excited.
I love that
It's
one.
so good.
I hope you enjoy it.
Yes,
She will.
I'm loving it.
Tess, what about you? What are you reading?
So I'm still reading Cinder, like I mentioned last time, but ever since, like I mentioned, that I found a way to listen to audiobooks, which is while I'm sewing some trim on my wedding cape, which I need to do soon. The whole time I just listen to audiobooks, and it really helps me pass the time. I also learned recently to listen to audiobooks on like mega speed.
Nice.
It also helps me get through things really fast. So the audiobook I'm listening to is Serpent and Dove. Did I say that weird? Serpent and Dove. I tried to listen to it before, and like just to be honest, and I know I'm not the only one because I looked up the reviews to see if I was crazy, but I had trouble with the male narrator. I just really couldn't vibe with his narration style. It's very clipped and it's real. The cadence is very strange compared with the female narrator. I wish it was one of those books where the female, even though it's multiple first person point of view, I wish that it was just the female narrator, because it's hard getting like used to all these interpretations of the different voices. But yeah, that's my only complaint about it. So I'm listening to it again. I'm listening to it on faster time so I can like get through the parts a little faster. But I'm liking it better now. I think I wasn't in like the right. I don't know, it must have not been like the type of book I wanted to listen to when I tried to listen to it before and set it aside. This time around, I'm really enjoying it. Even I'll even listen to it before bed if I don't really feel like actively like reading. Because as y'all know, I'm going through a big move right now. And so it's kind of hard to focus on reading. Yeah. Sorry, Cinder. I will read you. I will finish you. I am. A little bit at a time. But yeah, I'm listening to some audio right now. So...
Hey, that works. I didn't listen to audio for the longest time because I couldn't get into it. And now that I like found the books that work for me, I'm like, okay, I can actually get through stuff now instead of just leaving it. But I am reading the last book in the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, something like that.
Oh, Jemisin.
Yes, thank you. So I've been buddy reading the whole trilogy with a friend, and we're on the last book. So I'm very excited. So much is happening. Oh my goodness. it's intense. So yeah. Well, I am so glad that you guys joined us for this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed our little trope conversation. Make sure to give us a follow on Instagram at Reading Queens Pod if you haven't already. And if you have a moment, please do leave us a review and, just engage with us online. We're around. We want to get to know you. So just stay tuned. We have so much fun stuff planned, and yeah, we'll see you, hear you, talk to you next week.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye everybody.